Others never got one on their phone or hours too late.
We were alerted by the sheriffs going, little by house by house with the speaker on, saying, with the siren saying we got to evacuate. That was our alert.
Wow. What about, did you ever get one on your phone?
Nope.
This man says by the time he got an alert, the fire was already in his backyard.
I remember that I was already in the middle of the fire. I was getting alerts.
The LA County Board of Supervisors hired a consulting firm to conduct an independent review of the county's efforts to warn and evacuate residents. They found a series of weaknesses led to failures in timely evacuations and warnings. Among the weaknesses, poor communication, understaffing, a lack of adequate planning. They say LA County had no clear process for who should issue evacuation orders. They also found antiquated protocols and technology.
The county lacked common coordination tools and systems, which were further complicated by gaps in existing and aging systems. This impacted the incident command staff's ability to develop a common operating picture, issue alerts, and execute evacuations and even share information.
The report did acknowledge hurricane-force winds grounded firefighting aircraft and created power outages, limiting cell phone use. The report offered recommendations to enhance emergency response, including improving public communications, clearer policies, stronger training, and updated obsolete systems and technology.
I'm committed to quickly implementing these critical changes so our county is better prepared moving forward.
And just to be clear, this report focused on LA County's actions, not LA City's actions, where there was a controversy between Mayor Karen Bass and the former fire chief over the response. Bass, as well as the other LA City agencies, refused to be interviewed for this report. For now, reporting live here in Pasadena, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send back to you guys in the studio.
Eye-opening for sure. Mary Beth, thank you. Now to this, firefighters have stopped forward progress on a fast-moving brush fire that broke out around 6 p.m. in North Simi Valley. Ventura fire officials say the flames from the lost fire climbed a hill near the intersection of Young Wolf Drive and Swift Fox Court. The fire grew to about 66 acres before crews got the upper hand. Aircraft dropped water on the flames from above as firefighters dug containment lines below. No one was injured and no evacuation orders were issued, and the cause of the fire is still under investigation.
All right, let's bring Kirk Hawkins in and talk about our local weather. Kirk, you said earlier it's going to get a little cooler. Fire danger obviously going to be dropping, huh?
Yes, we're a lot of excitement associated with the cooling trend that we're seeing all across Southern California. In fact, we saw some thunderstorms earlier this afternoon that really remained contained to San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. But that marine layer, as you can see behind me in Long Beach, starting to roll in along the coast. And temperatures along the coast now just in the 60s, 67 LAX, 66 Santa Ana. We look at the almanac and we saw a high today of 78 degrees, a few degrees below normal, and that's where we're going to be in the days ahead. So here's a look at weather headlines at this hour. Those temperatures remaining below average through the weekend. The extensive marine layer slowed to clear. And I'll have more on those thunderstorm chances coming up. For now, though, back to you.
All right, Hawk, we'll talk to you soon. Former FBI Director James Comey says he is innocent and ready to fight after he was indicted today by a federal grand jury. This indictment comes just days after President Trump publicly pressured the DOJ to charge Comey.
Comey is expected to surrender to authorities tomorrow morning. KTLA's John Fenolio joins us live in the newsroom as reaction continues to pour in. John?
Sure, Rick. Former FBI Director James Comey is facing charges over Justice Department allegations that he lied to Congress in 2020 during testimony about the FBI's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and alleged connections to Donald Trump's campaign. The president and his supporters say this indictment is about holding Comey accountable for abusing his power. But Comey's defenders say this is Trump's political retribution.
Former FBI Director James Comey indicted on 2 counts, obstruction of justice and giving false statements to Congress. The Department of Justice alleges Comey lied during his Senate testimony in September 2020. At the time, Republicans accused Comey of leaking information to the press about the FBI's investigation into Donald Trump's alleged connections to Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Accusations Comey denied.
Your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
Mr. Trump fired Comey shortly after taking office in May of 2017. The charges come days after pressure from President Trump. Over the weekend, the president publicly addressed Attorney General Pam Bondi on Truth Social, calling on her to take action against Comey, writing, "Justice must be served now." The statute of limitations to bring a case against Comey were set to expire next week. President Trump, earlier today,
Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI.
Last week, the president forced out the long-serving U.S. Attorney of Eastern Virginia after he declined to prosecute Comey. President Trump replaced him with one of his own former personal lawyers named Lindsay Halligan. She is a former insurance attorney who has no experience as a prosecutor. Numerous outlets reporting that as soon as Halligan took over the office, career prosecutors told her that there was not enough evidence to prove the accusations against Comey beyond a reasonable doubt. President Trump responding late Thursday, saying in part, "Justice in America, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to, is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI." Comey's defenders say the president is abusing his power by going after his perceived political enemies.
He is corrupting our Department of Justice, our prosecutors, and our entire justice system.
Comey also speaking out.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
So what happens next is that James Comey will go into court and face these charges. I do not think that he will be held in a federal prison, and the case will then move to a motion to dismiss. I think it is very likely that the next step is that James Comey will bring a motion to dismiss and say there's just no legal basis for these claims and the case should not proceed.
If convicted, Comey faces a possible sentence of up to 5 years in prison. He is expected to turn himself into federal authorities tomorrow morning. In the News Center, I'm John Finolio, sending it back to you.
All right, John, we'll take it. Thank you for that. Locally, a motorcycle officer with the Santa Monica Police Department had to be rushed to the hospital after being involved in this crash on the northbound lanes of the 405. Sky 5 over the scene in North Hills. This is Roscoe Boulevard exit just before 8 o'clock tonight. Aerial footage shows officers with the LAPD surrounding the officer, who they say appeared alert, conscious. He was breathing, laying there in the carpool lane on the freeway. The officer's condition unknown at this late hour. Still unclear how this accident happened.
The suspected gunman in the Dallas ICE facility shooting wanted to terrorize federal agents, according to his handwritten note. 29-year-old Joshua Yan reportedly had a hatred for ICE and wanted to inflict fear in the agents. They say a note found in his residence read, quote, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror." Yan fired from the rooftop of a building near the ICE facility early yesterday morning. One detainee was killed. 2 others were critically injured.
He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility. He hoped to minimize any collateral damage or injury to the detainees and any other innocent people.
Investigators say